Which U.S. president made the most profit from their time as commander-in-chief?
Powered by rainbows, let your colors soar. Learn, live proud with the Professor Pride Store.
Get everything you need to protest the felon-in-chief, including I Did That stickers, pins, and more at ProfessorPride.com. We set out to find which U.S. president made the most profit from being commander-in-chief. First, we collected data on when they took the oath of office and when they left office. We found their salaries for those years, designated by Congress, and multiplied it by the amount of time they were in office. You'll notice in a moment, at a certain point, Congress decided to give the president a tax-free expense allowance so they can pay for things around the White House with no problems. This was their money to spend. If they chose not to spend it at all, they were able to pocket the money tax-free. After Harry Truman, Congress also allowed presidents to collect a pension until they passed away. After they died, Congress also allowed their spouses to collect survivor benefit pensions every year until they passed away too. So we looked at when they left office, what their pension amount was per year, how long they survived, how long their wives survived past that date, and how much they got in survivor benefits too. Next, we looked at everything else we can find on their income. This included book royalties, speaking fees, annual paychecks for sitting on the board of directors of different organizations, Nobel Peace Prize awards, and anything else we can find on their income. We did not count the value of any property they had prior to running for office, mostly because land value is always fluctuating and to compare it would just not be fair to anyone. Finally, we added up all those numbers and adjusted for inflation. This way we can compare every president fairly on the same scale. If you were to simply compare the $25,000 George Washington got paid in salary to the $400,000 each president gets nowadays, it would obviously be biased against modern presidents simply due to congressional budgets for their salaries increasing over the past 250 years. So we assumed each president's wealth was fully realized in the year of their death. For example, George Washington died in 1799, so we adjusted his income from 1799 to 2026 amounts. For presidents who are still living, we use the inflation start date of when they left office until the moment of this recording. At the end, we compared all of their profits to come up with not only how much Democrats profit compared to Republicans, which I'm sure will shock you, but we also put together a full timeline to show you how profits have grown in the Oval Office since our country was founded 250 years ago. So stick around until the end because the graphs will shock you here. It is worth noting that Grover Cleveland and Donald Trump had 2 terms separated by other presidents. Therefore, while we've had 47 presidents, because of these duplicates, we're starting our list with number 45, James Monroe. James Monroe was our 5th president and served 8 years in office. He earned a salary of $25,000 per year, but he paid for everything out of pocket. This included travel and other expenses while being president. He left office in 1825 in $53,000 of debt, equivalent to over $1.7 million today. He passed away 6 years later, still under this overwhelming debt. Number 44 on our list is Thomas Jefferson. He was our 3rd president and earned a salary of $25,000 per year. However, he was terrible with finances. He spent nearly $7,500, over $195,000 in today's money, on wine during his first term alone. He paid for staff, food, and lavish dinners out of his own pocket, leaving him $11,000 in debt by the end of his 8 years in office. That's over $295,000 in today's value. Next up, William Henry Harrison, who served as our 9th president, but he only served for 32 days before dying in office. Over that time, he got paid a prorated salary of $2,200, but died without a penny thanks to his medical bills from having pneumonia, which he got from his inauguration and eventually killed him. Coming in at number 42 on our list is Herbert Hoover, who was our 31st president. He earned a $75,000 salary for his 4 years in office, but donated every penny to charity. Next at 41 on our list, John F. Kennedy was our 35th president. He earned $100,000 per year salary and other perks, but because of his family's extreme wealth before entering office, he donated every penny of his perks and salary to charities, such as the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of the USA, United Negro College Fund, and Cuban Families Committee. He was assassinated in 1963 in Texas. Number 40 on our list is James A. Garfield, who served 200 days as our 20th president. His $50,000 per year salary was prorated to his short term, so he only profited $28,000 until he was shot and died a few months later from an infection. In modern value, that's just $908,000. Next up, while President Martin Van Buren served 4 years in office as our 8th president, his term was spent dealing with a panic of 1837, a major economic depression. So much of his $25,000 salary went to paying the high cost of running the White House, and he left in 1841 with just $25,000, a quarter of his earnings. In today's value, that's just $948,000. At number 38 on our list is Zachary Taylor, who was our 12th president. He earned a yearly salary of $25,000, but he only served for 16 months due to what's believed to be salmonella poisoning from consuming bad food during a July 4th party. In today's value, that's just over $1 million. Next is Abraham Lincoln, who served as our 16th president. He earned a $25,000 salary and invested half of that back into federal securities, helping to fund the Civil War efforts, ultimately defeating racist Southerners who wanted slavery. He was assassinated in office, and in today's value, his estate profited over $2 million from his term as president. Coming in at number 36 on our list is Andrew Johnson, our 17th president. He served one term of 4 years and earned a $25,000 yearly salary. After serving as president, he went back to Tennessee and was the only president to be reelected as a senator in 1875. In today's value, his profit was just over $2.4 million. Number 35 on our list is Warren G. Harding, who served as our 29th president. He earned a $75,000 yearly salary until he died in office 2 years later. It's believed to have been thanks to a heart attack brought on by the stress of his massive corruption scandal. In the end, the family paid $17,000 in taxes after he died to collect his salary, and in today's value, his family ended up with over $2.5 million. Our second president, John Adams, made our list at number 34 with a $25,000 per year salary. He enjoyed using his executive expense account to pay for everything in the executive mansion and enjoyed a lavish lifestyle thanks to his successful law practice and inheritance before entering office. But his salary would be valued in today's cash as over $2.6 million. Up next at 33 on our list is Millard Fillmore. He was our 13th president and earned a $25,000 salary for the 3 years he served in office. A large part of his wealth was from his law practice and serving as the founder and chancellor of the University of Buffalo, but while in office, he earned a modern value of just $3.2 million. Coming in at number 32 on our list is Joe Biden, who served as our 46th president and vice president under Barack Obama. From his $400,000 yearly salary as president, to his tax-free expense allowance designated by Congress years earlier, to his $1.2 million pension fund, which he is still collecting on, he earned over $3.2 million. Even a year later, since he left office in 2025, this is now valued at over $3.3 million. Next is John Quincy Adams, who was our 6th president. He earned a $25,000 salary for his 4 years in office. In today's value, that's just over $3.5 million. Number 30 on our list is James Buchanan, who served as our 15th president. He also earned just $25,000 per year and served in Congress, Minister to Great Britain, and Secretary of State before being elected president in 1857. In today's value, his salary totals $3.7 million. Similarly, Franklin Pierce also earned $25,000 a year and came right before James Buchanan as the 14th president. But in modern value, his salary was worth nearly $3.8 million. Coming in at number 28 on our list is James Polk, who was our 11th president. He also earned a $25,000 yearly salary, which was also meant to cover any White House expenses at the time, but is now valued at over $4.2 million. Next is John Tyler, who served as our 10th president. While he earned a $25,000 yearly salary, a majority of his wealth came from owning a tobacco plantation in Virginia, which he went back to running after leaving office. In modern value, his salary would be worth over $4.3 million. Our fourth president, James Madison, earned the same yearly salary and served 8 years as president before retiring due to health concerns. In today's value, that would be nearly $5 million. Next up at 25 on our list is our first president, George Washington. He earned $25,000 per year, a quarter of the federal budget at that time. Today, his salary is valued at over $5.2 million. Coming in at number 24 is Rutherford B. Hayes, who was our 19th president. When he ran for office, he pledged to only serve one 4-year term, so he can make the tough federal reforms he felt were needed without the bias of campaigning for a second term. He earned a $50,000 yearly salary at that time and kept his word to retire after 4 years to his home in Ohio. Today, that salary would be worth over $6.4 million. Next is our 33rd president, Harry S. Truman. Sure, he earned $100,000 per year salary at that time for his 8 years in office, but when he left office, he was nearly broke with only $34,000 to his name. He mostly relied on his World War I Army pension of $112 per month and $34,000 of royalties from a memoir written in Life magazine. Due to his financial struggles, Congress passed the Former Presidents Act of 1958 to establish a yearly pension for former presidents. This means he earned another $475,000 until he died in 1972. Today, this total value would be over $6.7 million. Coming in at number 22 on our list is Andrew Jackson, our 7th president. He earned a $25,000 yearly salary for his 8 years as president. Today, that would be valued at over $6.8 million. Next up is Benjamin Harrison, who served as our 23rd president. While he presided over the first billion-dollar budget, he earned just $50,000 per year for a total value today of over $7.3 million. Our 25th president, William McKinley, comes in at number 20 on our list. He earned a $50,000 yearly salary for a value today of $7.7 million. Next is Calvin Coolidge, who was our 30th president. He was in office for 6 years following the death of Warren G. Harding in 1924. He earned a salary of $75,000 per year, which is now valued at over $8.6 million. Coming in at number 18 on our list is William Howard Taft, who was our 27th president. He earned a yearly salary of $75,000 for his 4 years in office. After leaving office, he was appointed to the Supreme Court and became the Chief Justice. In today's value, his salary would be worth over $10 million. Next is Ronald Reagan, who served as our 40th president in the 1980s. With a yearly salary of $200,000, another $400,000 in tax-free expense account, nearly $2 million in pension, and another $250,000 for his wife's survivor benefit, Ronald Reagan profited nearly $11 million in today's value from the presidency. At number 16 on our list is the 41st president, George Bush Sr. He served one term with a $200,000 yearly salary, another $200,000 in expense account, and nearly $4 million in a pension after he left office. This added up for a total of $11.6 million in today's value. Coming in at number 15 on our list is Chester A. Arthur, who served as our 21st president in the 1880s. He earned a $50,000 per year salary as president at the same time of being a collector of the Port of New York for another $50,000 a year. In today's money, that's over $13.6 million over his 4-year term. Next up at number 14 is Woodrow Wilson. He was our 28th president who earned a yearly salary of $75,000. Another $40,000 for winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 1919, another $10,000 received during his term from a private trust fund, and a $100,000 townhouse that was gifted to him after he left office. In today's value, that's over $13.8 million. Moving on to Grover Cleveland, who was our 22nd and 24th president, he earned a yearly salary of $50,000. In today's market, that's more than $14.3 million. Number 12 on our list is Theodore Roosevelt, who became our 26th president in 1901. He earned a yearly salary of $50,000, which in today's value equals more than $14.5 million. Next is our 39th president, Jimmy Carter. He served for one term, earning $200,000 per year. He received another $200,000 in a tax-free expense account and over $3.3 million in a pension up until he passed away in 2024. After he left office, he purchased a modest ranch in Georgia for $167,000, where he lived with his wife for the next 40 years. In today's value, his salary and perks amounted to over $15.2 million. At the bottom of our top 10 is Dwight D. Eisenhower, who became our 34th president in 1953. He served 2 terms in office with a $100,000 yearly salary. While in office, he had a $400,000 expense account, and after leaving, he collected $200,000 in pensions. In today's value, that's over $15.4 million. Number 9 on our list is Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR for short. He served as our 32nd president and presided over World War II. He was famous for ending the Great Depression, solved the Dust Bowl disaster, and plenty more. Much like most of the men on this list, he owned a lot of land before entering office. But over his 12 years as president, he collected $75,000 a year in salary. Adjusted for inflation, this is more than $16.5 million today. Coming in at number 8 on our list is Barack Obama. He served as America's 44th president and helped solve the 2008 financial and housing market collapse left behind from the previous administration. He earned $400,000 per year in salary, had another $400,000 in expense accounts, and so far has collected over $2.2 million in pension, designated by Congress years ago. He did collect another $8 million in royalties for a book deal, and did win another Nobel Peace Prize, which he donated all that money to charity. But in today's value, that adds up to a total of $18.6 million. Next up is George W. Bush Jr., who served as our 43rd president in the early 2000s. He led our country through the 9/11 attacks, led us into wars in the Middle East, and straight into the 2008 housing market collapse. He earned a $400,000 yearly salary, had another $400,000 in expense accounts, and has so far collected over $3.7 million in pensions. After he left office, he got a $7 million book deal and was gifted another $434,000 in taxpayer money to rent an office space for himself. This all adds up for a total of $22.7 million today. Coming in at number 6 is Ulysses S. Grant. He was famous for leading the Union Army in the Civil War and served as our 18th president in the 1870s. For his first 4 years in office, he earned $25,000 a year and $50,000 for the second term. After he left office, he signed a book deal for another $450,000, but ended up investing in a fraudulent business venture and losing it all. So while he did technically profit over $23.5 million in today's money, he died in 1885 without a penny to his name. Number 5 on our list is Richard Nixon, who served as our 37th president in the 1970s. Nixon earned $200,000 a year in salary until he resigned in disgrace over the Watergate scandal, another $250,000 in expense accounts, and collected $3.1 million for a pension. In today's value, that is over $29.2 million. All the way at number 4 on our list is Lyndon B. Johnson, who served as our 36th president in the late 1960s. He earned a yearly salary of $100,000, had a tax-free expense allowance of $300,000, and received $100,000 in a pension before he passed away in 1973. But a majority of his wealth came from his wife, Lady Bird Johnson, owning radio and TV stations while he was president. Because of how easy it was to sponsor ads on his wife's media stations and get the ear of the president, these companies were valued at the time at roughly $14 million. Adjusted for inflation, his income comes in at over $134.9 million total. Coming in at number 3 is Gerald Ford. He became the commander-in-chief in 1974 to be our 38th president. He earned a yearly salary of $200,000, had $150,000 in a tax-free expense account, and collected nearly $4.9 million in pensions before he passed away in 2006. At that time, his wife began receiving survivor benefit funds to the tune of $100,000 until she passed away in 2011. However, Gerald Ford is credited with pioneering the monetization of the presidency. He earned over $1 million within a year after leaving office. Immediately after stepping down from the White House, he joined the corporate boards of Shearson American Express and Beneficial Corporation. They paid him $500,000 a year each for the rest of his life. He was also the first president to monetize giving speeches after being president, and would reportedly charge over $15,000 to speak. Adjusted for inflation, his profit totaled $191.8 million by the end of his life. All the way at number 2 on our list is Bill Clinton. He took office in 1993 as our 42nd president. He presided over the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law, which banned LGBTQ people from the military. He also paid down over $140 billion of the national debt, so our country had a surplus rather than a deficit. However, he did so by taxing the hell out of the poor and middle class. During his 2 terms as president, Bill Clinton earned $200,000 per year in salary, $400,000 in a tax-free expense allowance, and collected over $4.4 million so far from his pension. In the first 15 years since he left office, Bill Clinton has earned over $38 million in royalties from book deals. Together with his wife Hillary, they earned $240 million in giving speeches from 2001 to 2015. When Bill left the Oval Office in 2001, his wife was elected as a senator, largely based on her husband's status as a president. She served in the Senate until 2008, earning over $1 million in salary. She then went on to become Secretary of State with a $186,000 per year salary for the next 5 years under President Barack Obama. Then she gets a pension of about 10% of that salary for the rest of her life. Hillary also brought in another $8.6 million from book deals during that time. In total, they profited nearly $300 million from the presidency, which, adjusted for inflation, totals $550 million in today's money. But that's still a drop in the bucket compared to number 1 on our list of presidents who have profited the most out of the Oval Office. During his 2 non-consecutive terms, convicted felon Donald Trump collected a salary of over $2.4 million so far, had over $300,000 in a tax-free expense allowance, and because he was out of office for 4 wonderful years, he collected a pension of $2.2 million. All of this was approved of by Congress. But in our recent documentary and book of the same name, Grifter in Chief, we outlined how Trump stole $8.4 trillion from taxpayers throughout his life. Even if you were to only look at the money he personally pocketed from government funds and bribes he got from being president, up until 2025, he profited $46.7 billion. Reports also show since we made that documentary in January 2026, he profited at least another $4 billion from being president. Adjusted for just a short time of inflation, it all adds up to him profiting over $61,802,748,677.77. And because I love accounting, we can now break all this data down into summary charts. If you're wondering how much profit Democrats make compared to Republicans, here's your answer. So far, with 21 presidents who were Democrat or describe their party as Democrat-Republican, they account for 1.27% of all profit made by every president combined. Other parties such as the Federalist, Independent George Washington, and Whig parties combined, those 6 presidents account for 0.03% of all profits made by presidents. But in the red corner, the 23 presidents who are Republicans or Democrat-Republicans accounted for 0.61% of all personal profit made by all the presidents combined. If you include Donald Trump into that circle, who describes himself as a Republican, he alone accounts for 98.09% of all taxpayer money pocketed by all 45 presidents so far. If you're wondering what this looks like over time, we can show you that too. From George Washington to Joe Biden, here is a graph of how much each president took home as a profit from the position. There are some spikes with Ulysses S. Grant, Lyndon B. Johnson, Gerald Ford, and Bill Clinton. For the record, 2 of those are Republicans and 2 are Democrats. But our graphic design software, which is the best in the world, shockingly broke when we tried to factor in one last number for our number 1 position on this list. So we had to scale everything else down. And now with Donald Trump factored into the graph, here is a complete timeline of how much each president has made in profit from the American taxpayers. You'll notice how all 4 of the other spikes pretty much fade away, and the rest of the timeline just looks like a straight line now. Trump's personal profit, stolen from our taxpayer dollars, is so extremely high that you can take all the profit from the other 44 presidents in our 250-year history and combine them, then you would have to multiply that number 51 times over, and you would still have to add more than $689 million before you got to the same amount Donald Trump profited from the American taxpayer using his position in the White House. It reminds me of a time when Donald Trump told us all that he was going to drain the swamp. But if you look at the data, now the swamp is so high that Americans will be drowning in debt for the rest of our lives to pay it off.
Powered by rainbows, the learning never stops. So be sure to subscribe or check out our shop. Much love and rain.